It would be an error to assume that an intuition is always good. The point to analyze this is to ask first the question, what is the process underlying the intuition? And as I said, it's often a simple heuristic. When we've identified the heuristic, we can say in what world will it lead to success and when not. Here's an example about an intuition going wrong, and with the same principle. An important point is to understand the process, not just talk about intuition, good or bad. Remember the pictures of the Twin Towers and 9/11, the plane crashing into the tower. We know that many Americans stopped flying or reduced flying afterwards in panic. What did they do? Did they stay home or did they use their car? I've studied that, and you can see that for 12 months the number of miles driven increased up to 5%, and the highest increases are there where long distance travel happening on the interstate highway, and the rural highways. Yeah? And then it went back to normal. That was when the pictures were no longer shown every day and the news went to others. So, and then one can look what happened during this travel and during these 12 months. About 1,500 Americans lost their lives on the road in the attempt to avoid the risk of flying. So 1,500 more than usual. This is now the terrorist's second strike. First strike is physically, the second through our minds and our anxieties. We have a good hypothesis how these anxiety or this intuition stay away from the planes works. It seems to be the following. The heuristic is, if many people die at one point in time, then avoid it and react with fear. The emphasis is not on dying, but on one point in time. One can see that because if as many or more people die distributed over the year, as in motorbikes or car travel, it's very hard to instill anxiety in us. We just are in the car, and even if there are 42,000 deaths on American roads, US American roads every year, it's very hard to make anyone fear of a car. And the point is now about this, it's sometimes called a dread risk, about that there are many people die in a relatively short time. The question now is, that I pose, I don't consider this an irrationality that has no good reason. But the ecological question is, in what world would that be a good strategy? And as far as we know, humans lived in our human history in small bands of maybe 2-digit number size. And if in such a situation, at one point, a larger part of a group would lose their lives, that could threaten the entire survival of the rest. So here we have a potential situation where this kind of threat heuristic would be a rational one to follow, but no longer in our world, where we are no longer dependent of a small group of relatives or friends who hold together to survive. So here you have an example. There's an intuition. The intuition about what avoid. It's also an emotional intuition. We can identify the heuristic that's underlying this intuition, namely avoid situations where many people die in one point in time. And then we can identify the situations where this makes sense or where it doesn't make sense. And by teaching people about how they function, we can help to avoid that the terrorists also succeed the next time in their second strike, because we don't want to fulfill, to make them easier and just react in a way that can be predicted and cost another 1,000 or 500 people their lives.